The other day, you were supposed to work on a Desmos activity that was an introduction to probability. Today, what I want to do, and this is really starting chapter 4, we obviously have focused on the statistics part of this class, but technically it's statistics and probability. So we're going to touch on some probability topics as well. And I'm hopeful that this will be something that you can use in the future, especially if you take a discrete math class, because some of these topics will be things that you would cover if you did take that, whether it be here at North next year or whether it be as a college class. So we're going to hit some probability topics here to kind of finish out the semester. To start out with, though, just a little bit of what probability is. If you think about chance behavior, so something that is unpredictable, something that there are certain chances to. But when you look at chance behavior is unpredictable when we look at it in the short run. Or in other words, a small amount of trials. But it has regular and predictable pattern in the long run. Well, that idea that, okay, in 1 or 2 chances, that's unpredictable. Versus, okay, over the long haul, we're going to see a pattern. That's really our basis of probability. For instance, because I coach basketball, I think about this example. I may be able to pick up a basketball and hit a half-court shot the first time I shoot it. But if I keep shooting that shot over and over again, well, in the long run, I'm going to have less likely of a chance that I'm making the shot. So it's unpredictable in the short run. Maybe I make it, maybe I miss it. But in the long run, I'm going to have a predictable pattern or a certain percentage of times that I'm actually going to be successful. Well, I know that you've dealt with probability in the past, but a few things to think about with probability. First of all, the probability of any outcome is a chance process, but we're going to assign a number between 0 and 1 that describes the proportion of times that outcome is going to occur. So when we look at probability, again, we're going to give it a number between 0 and 1, but what it's really looking at is the proportion of times that the outcome would occur in a very large number of repetitions. And that's important. It's got to be a very large number. We can't be talking about the probability of just trying it once. We have to think about, okay, if I did it millions of times, what would be happening here? Now, we assign a number values from 0 to 1. Well, if we had an outcome that can never happen, that's when we give it a probability of 0. If we have a probability and we're looking at the probability of something that definitely would happen or happens every single repetition, that would be the probability of 1. And then most of our trials, most of our examples are going to fall somewhere in between those two things. Well, a term that we'll use in relation to probability is what's called the law of large numbers. And the law of large numbers says that if we observe more and more repetitions of any chance process, the proportion of times that specific outcome occurs approaches a certain probability or its probability, which is just a fancy way of saying, okay, if we're going to look at probability, we can't just look at a small number of values. We've got to look at a large number of values. The tricky part is, okay, well, what's large? Well, there's not necessarily a definite number that says, okay, once you get to 100, that's now considered large. But we just know over a period of time, and with more and more repetitions, the more likely we're going to be close to the probability that we would suspect it would happen. So what you're going to do is an activity now that's going to look at some things in probability. After you do that, then you're going to come back and you're going to watch another video kind of summarizing that activity that's going to expand upon our probabilities that we'll work on in this chapter.